Okay, monoclonal antibodies. And monoclonal antibodies are all to do with this little thing here.
No bullying. A mouse?
Being given a big injection. Oh, poor mouse. It's not, well, yeah, it probably is given a fairly big injection. Imagine how big that is coming towards you if you're a mouse. Anyway, what we do, and this sounds really, really cruel, and I'm sorry for not being able to draw mices properly. Uh, that's supposed to be a mouse.
That is a mouse. It looks like a mouse.
Does it?
Yes.
Okay, that's a mouse, right? And you give the mouse, um,
An injection, of course.
yeah, you give it an injection of the disease. So you give it an injection of the disease, like, for example, it could be a bacteria, couldn't it? Or it could be a virus or something like that. Whatever you,
Virus?
yeah, you give it whatever it is that you want to make a cure for, really. Make sense?
Yes.
All right. Now, inside the mouse, can you remember the two types of white blood cells? One was called phagocytes and one began with L, Lym.
Lymphocytes.
Very close, lymphocytes. All right. Uh,
Lymphocytes. That's what I said.
very good. Well, the B lymphocytes produce antibodies. Do you
Lymphocytes.
remember?
Yeah.
And
Antibody. Those little hairs which stick on it and then they cover it all up and squash it and dissolve.
that's right. Well, these are the little hair things that you described that land on something. We're not worried about the squashing it business with the phagocytes. We're just interested in these antibodies because the particular lymphocytes that make the right antibodies for whatever it is we gave the poor mouse will be produced in large amounts inside the mouse once we've infected it. So we
Mm.
infect the mouse with something, I don't
You
know.
infect it? You turn it into a zombie?
Yeah, it's like being turned into a zombie, just not quite as serious. So you give it these antibodies or whatever. Sorry, you give it the antigens, they're called. You give it the thing that's
Gems?
making it ill. Yeah, don't worry about that word.
Anti-gems.
You have worried about that word. Okay, never mind. We'll remember it. But we
Anti-gems, 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 anti-gems. I'm just
okay.
saying it so I can remember it. Anti
All right. Well, the antigens or whatever it is that the antibodies react to.
anti-gems,
Alvin
anti-gems.
John, shush. The antibodies that are produced, yeah,
Yeah.
for that are produced by particular B lymphocytes. So you end up with loads and loads of these B lymphocytes that make this antibody. All right.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But it's still inside the mouse. So we then have to take it outside of the mouse. All right.
Outside.
And yeah, and if we gather up all of these antibodies, then we can use that in order to cure people. These are called monoclonal antibodies. This is such a difficult word.
Monoclonal
Mon,
antibodies.
oh, very good. Monoclonal, because it's just one clone of them, and antibodies are antibodies, aren't they? And then we can
Yeah.
use those monoclonal antibodies for lots of things. Like, for example, we can use
A
them
ball.
to for a ball. For a ball?
No. I mean for a bull.
Well, I've got a,
Bull.
yeah, you could probably use it in all sorts of creatures. They can be used for treating cancer. They can bind to cancer cells. Have you heard of cancer?
No.
Oh, cancer's a terrible disease, and it's caused by certain cells in your body just reproducing really, really badly, loads and loads of times. And that can be really not good for you.
Which
You can use cancer
means
cells for good, though. Are you ready?
hmm,
If you take some of these cancer cells, so these cancer cells here, and
hmm.
you fuse them with one or two of these antibodies, then you can produce something called a hybrid oma. Can you say that?
Hybridoma.
Yeah. And so the antibodies inside
Wait, does
these,
that mean you're a hybrid?
it's a hybrid. Yeah, it's a mixture of like the antibody and these cells, these cancer cells that reproduce really fast. So you can use that to make even more of these monoclonal antibodies, all right? By
Hmm.
putting them in these cells which make loads and loads of copies.
You mean cancer cells?
Yeah. So cancer, is a terrible disease, but we can use it to our advantage in that case because we can make those um, hybridomas so we can then produce lots of antibodies. All right. And then, of course, you've got the antibodies and you can use them to cure people. So it's all good.
Yeah.
So just recapping on this lesson and the last lesson very, very quickly, what were some of the different types of drugs that we looked at?
Anti uh,
Bodies? No, what am I talking about? Antibiotics.
antibiotics and also painkiller.
Very good. And can you remember who discovered penicillin?
Alexander Fleming.
Very good. And can you remember, ooh, one more thing, placebos. You can have something called a placebo, all right?
All right.
Now, a placebo is when you're given something that actually is a bit of a cheat. It hasn't got the actual drug in it, but you think it has, and so you feel better. Yeah?
Yeah.
You sort of imagine you feel better. And so what they will do when they're testing a drug on somebody is they'll give somebody a spoonful of something, and sometimes they give them the stuff that's got the actual medicine in, sometimes it's just like syrup or something. And the person then says,
Cough syrup.
yeah, no, not even cough syrup, it hasn't got anything in it. So you can then tell whether or not it's actually the medicine that's making them better or they're just imagining it. All right. So, for
Right.
example, if you're feeling poorly and I say, oh, Alvin, I've got some marvelous, wonderful medicine here, and I give it to you, secretly knowing there's nothing in it, it's just treacle, and you take it and you go, oh, Daddy, I feel better now. Well, that's a placebo. All right.
Yeah.
How do you say it?
Placebo.
Very good. Now, if I don't know what the drug is, that's called a blind trial because I can't see what the drug is.
Blind trial.
That's right. And if the doctor also doesn't know what the drug is, and I don't, which one has the drug in it, and I don't, it's called a double blind trial.
Double
And
blind trial.
are are you getting tired?
Yeah, by the way,
You-
what happens if three people don't know what the drug has? Then it's going to be a triple
I
blind
don't think
trial.
there's any such thing as a triple blind trial, but your logic is brilliant, Alvin John. Done really well tonight.
Okay.
Bye.
Mm.